that's why I stepped towards Chicago Footwork, because I was on the path of doing music and being an artist and doing rap music and singing and stuff like that. Then I got a calling and like, you know, my God told me Chicago Footwork. Boom. And I could easily be like, I just made that up in my head, because there's absolutely no lane. There's no career path. There's no nothing for Chicago Footwork. But I knew that it was something real. So
stay tuned, stay curious. Enculturation podcast. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Really appreciate you coming here. Been a fan of your work for many years now. You know, ever since I first came into awareness. I think you were when I was still living in San Diego and you were living in LA possibly. I remember one time I was with Brian Green and he's pointing at you and he gave me the thumbs up. And that's like a big thing from Brian, right? You know, because he has very, very high standards, and he pointed at you and he gave me the thumbs up. It's like, all right, this guy is it.
Yeah,
you know?
no, that guy is the beginning of my story outside of Chicago, you know.
Okay, I can't wait to hear it. Yeah, and I'm actually really excited to hear more about Chicago too, because like my personal experience is very New York centric, and the guests that we've had on here is very New York centric. So it's good to hear other sides of the culture, right?
Absolutely, and I appreciate you for bringing me on here too. So
yeah, absolutely. So let's start with your origin story. Tell me how this all became your world.
Well, I mean, dance has always been my world since I was able to walk. I think the earliest thing that was recorded of me dancing was when I was 4. And I was teaching my mom how to do the Running Man.
You were teaching your mom at
4. Yeah. She actually won a dance competition not too long after that because of that dance move when I showed it. I was pretty serious, but you know, it's almost like if you go to certain cultures like in Japan or something like that, and you got kids that are training at that age, but they're actually like a surprisingly high level. You know, I was that serious. Plus, my whole family are musicians and performers. So that's all I was surrounded around my whole life. So even at that age, you know, I took the MC Hammer music videos and the Bobby Brown music videos very seriously. So I didn't have a lot of moves, but that's when I was very serious about that Running Man, which is really crazy because I learned Chicago Footwork when I was 14. I started doing Chicago Footwork, and my first move was the Running Man. But it's 2 different types of a Running Man, like a hip hop Running Man and a Chicago Footwork Running Man, you know.
So when you were 4 years old, were you doing the hip hop version first?
The hip hop. Okay. Yeah. And so we had a lot of social influence in the household, you know, from the movies in the 90s. You know, House Party, Strictly Business, you know, White Man Can't Jump, New Jack City, all these films, you know. And there was always dance scenes. There was always club scenes and party scenes. And that was my only access, because in Chicago, in the Black community, in the Latin community, it was only in the Black community that you saw Chicago Footwork, you know, and it was very segregated. It was only pockets of Chicago, because each spot was pretty segregated with based on race. It's actually, I found out it's one of the most segregated places in America, unfortunately. So, but at the same time, it birthed this dance style from house music and ghetto house.
Was Chicago Footwork already really developed when you got into it, or were you getting into it like in the early days? Like,
no.
Where what's that timeline? What's your timeline like?
Where do I stand at? Okay, yeah. So I'm 3rd generation.
Okay.
So I'm 3rd generation, and I have teachers, and my teachers have teachers. Okay, this started in the 80s, and I started learning it 99, 2000. And then I have students, and my students have students. So it's about 5 going on 6 generations now in the dance scene of Chicago Footwork. The special place that my generation holds is that we're the generation that broke the wall of being noticed by the world and outside of Chicago. Thanks to people like Brian Green as well, you know, and Lady Soul, who's my former mentor and former manager and mentor, who introduced me to Brian Green, and Buddha Stretch too. So yeah, 3rd generation. So my generation started with juke music, and the generation before me started with ghetto house, and the generation before that started with house in Chicago. Yeah.
So as the music changed from these three genres, did the movements change too, or did it?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, you can only imagine, like, you're moving at a slower pace, 120 BPM, 130 BPM. Even the message of the music is more peaceful and loving and all this stuff. So it was way more freedom involved in the 80s, with all these different cultures meeting in the same places, like the warehouse and whatever parties, clubs that they had going on, jacking and all this, high energy stuff, percolators, whips, and, dookie booties and pressure cookers and all these different dance moves and stuff, some that never had a name, Holy Ghost, all this stuff. And then people from the poverty side of Chicago in these project buildings and stuff wanting to represent house music the way that they live their lives. And it was way more rough. So they would come out with records that represented that, like for example, pass the toilet paper, pass the toilet paper. That was a hit record,
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's like, and it had heavy hitting bass and like drums and all that stuff. And like this, so these DJs like DJ Sluggo, DJ Dion, like these people would like pack out project building parties, and they would call their music booty house or ghetto house, which was the bridge catalyst point to my generation later, which became juke, because ghetto house sped up the music a little bit. So it went from house to 120, 130 to like 140.
So did you come across the music and then you got into the dance, or like
I came across the dance and then I got into the music.
Okay.
Yeah. I was at a talent show at my junior high school. It was 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade. And I was in 6th grade at the time. They called 3 dancers to the floor to do whatever dance they know how to do. The teacher didn't know anything about this. She wasn't from the area. And she said, okay, on my count, 1, 2, 3, you guys start dancing. And all 3 of the kids started footworking. I was like, what is that? My life is officially changed. I am transformed on the inside. I need to know what this is. I was an athlete. I was doing a lot of sports.
What sports?
Everything in the streets, just basketball. I did street hockey. I played football, soccer, whatever I could get my hands and feet on, because I had a lot of energy, I guess I still have a lot of energy, but yeah. So I did everything. Skate, aggressive inline. I was also a MC, like growing up, rap battles. Yeah. And I have a large family, so
what about that moment or that talent show or the style really just captured you?
Well, what captured me was that I knew the person in 6th grade, that was competing for our grade level, because he lived across the street from my grandmother's house, and I was always over there. So I'm like, I didn't know Tristan knew how to do this. Like, his name is Tristan Davis. Shouts out to Tristan. Yeah. And so, and then also The Matrix just came out. And that's the number one thing I remember from his dance round. He did the dodge the bullet move from the Matrix 1 movie, where like Neo is going back slow motion. He did that in his footwork. So he footworked and then did like he swung his arms back trying to dodge the bullet kind of thing. I was like, this is so incredible. I need to learn it. I looked all around town for who could teach it to me. And they were like, you need to go to the skating rink called the Markham Skating Rink. It's the landmark in our area for learning this culture. And so every Saturday, teen night, they would go there. You either go on the skating floor or you go in the juke room. I went in the juke room, and my life was changed. Like full commitment, extreme. Just like, I'm fully going to dive into this now, because I thought I was a good dancer before that. But these guys had techniques and skills, you know what I mean? And this wasn't trained in dance classes. There was no dance classes, 0 dance classes, no hip hop classes, no nothing. House classes, this stuff didn't exist where I'm from, But this native dance was there. So I need to learn.
Yeah, well, and then considering that your family is full of performers, were your parents pretty supportive of you pursuing this, or what was their perspective like?
Well, they just thought I had a new hobby, and it's fun. Like I'm learning all these new dance moves, and they're seeing it. I'm inviting new friends over to my house because we're moving our feet in the living room and stuff. I mean, honestly, it was entertaining, but at the same time, it was like, I hope you're doing good in school. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And stop making so much noise in the living room. We're trying to sleep. So yeah, but all of that to say, no regrets though, even though my family were not that supportive at first. Like when I started talking about like being able to like push and do this really big, like full time or something like that. None of that was an idea. None of that was a thought. Like I said, me and a couple of my friends were the ones who broke that wall of non-belief. So you got to do good in school. And every year I didn't, not because of bad behavior. I was one of the best students in school for behavior, but my attention span was very short because the school systems didn't provide services for artistic kids to express themselves through art, and music and dance and all that stuff. Not as much as we needed. So we did it on our own. We did it on their time, honestly. Yeah, we did it on their time.
So like, how did you first approach this dance? And as far as like, what did you just go to the skating rink a lot, or did you practice a certain way? Like, what was those days like?
It was like, okay, all right, let's go down memory lane real quick. So like I said, it's a pretty segregated town. I only knew like 2 white people in the whole town. One of them, her name was like Angela or something like that. I actually liked her. I actually thought she was cute. So I went to go knock on her door one day. I built up the courage to say hi. And a couple dudes from across the street were like, hey, white folks. That's what they called me. Because, technically I was lighter than everybody else that was in the black community. So I turned around. They were like, come here. Went over there. I didn't want to not go over there because Chicago is a pretty aggressive city. So they were like, don't go over there. You're going to kick it with us now. You're going to hang with us now. So I was forced to hang with some guys that I didn't know. And they would come to my house every day, be polite to my mom, pick me up. And now I got to hang with these hood kids, gangsters, gangbangers, whatever. Some of them just got out of jail, all this other stuff. And started like hanging around with that crowd. And what's funny is that in that crowd, I found out that all of them knew how to footwork. And I was like, oh, so that's why I'm here. I didn't know why I was there. It just seemed dangerous, seemed like crazy. But you never know what your path has for you, And so looking back on it now, it's like, yeah, I needed to go through all of that to understand not just the movement of the dance, but the culture, the mindset of the dance, because it was pretty gang oriented back when I was joining. Now it's not as gang oriented.
So like by gang oriented, can you help me shed some light on how gangs perceive this movement, whether it's like a form of resolving conflict or it's just emotional expression? How are the two affiliated?
Definitely both of those things.
Okay.
Expressing emotions. Every household had issues. Every household had problems because of systems, lack of money, hustling, trying to feed your kids, all that stuff, So anger and releasing that, but at the same time, it was like a yin and yang kind of thing because the negative and the positive were always in the house. The negative was like the stress and the struggle, but the positive was that this dance was already in the families. Like someone's older cousin already knew how to do certain moves, so they passed it down to the younger cousins. or brothers or sisters or the aunts or the parents knew how to do a few moves, so they passed it down. Or maybe the parents were DJs of the music. Like this is a very in-house culture. So it wasn't hard to find once you started hanging with these guys, And so definitely, I would say it definitely resolved a lot of like potential violent situations. I've seen that happen so many times. And then also, I've seen people who came and they were pissed off, leave there feeling like relieved, and now they just want to go hang out with the girl or something like that, or kick it with the crew because they got all of that out on the floor. So, yeah.
How do you think the style has evolved over the years from when you got into it to where it is now, especially from like the Chicago perspective? Because the reason why I ask is you mentioned like there was a lot of interaction with gangs now or before, right? And then now with the things like social media where someone can just see the style from the living room or from their phone even, right? Without any affiliation to gangs. So has that changed?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even like the fourth generation, like they were probably still connected to like gang life and stuff, but they were doing a lot of other things with their time too. Even the fashion was changing. You got somebody like Lil Wayne who probably grew up like a really rough lifestyle, but you see how he dressed. He was dressing like a skateboarder, which put that mindset into certain people's minds that like, oh, I can dress like this and still be me, still be from the streets or whatever like that. So people started wearing Vans and all this other stuff in the newer generations. Like, so the culture itself started merging different things in it, but don't get me wrong, like it's still like intense in Chicago, but I would say it's still been like gang oriented, but now it's like a mixture, because when we opened that door to the possibility of making this a career, when there was never a penny from anybody who ever, like no one was making money from this. I mean, maybe like House-O-Matic and a couple performance groups from the first generation, but Footwork battle cliques were not making money. So they weren't having professional teaching careers and stuff like that. When we were opening those doors, now people started putting a different game face on and being like, oh, I don't really need to necessarily just only be in the streets trying to do this and that. I could like use the skills that I have on the dance floor, like battling people, and like get gigs and stuff like that. And, and so since then we've been bringing more and more attention to Chicago on the commercial side, on the teaching side, on the nonprofit side, all the sides. Honestly, we've been just covering all the bases and doing it in a healthy way.
When did you realize there was a door to begin with, and how did you realize that you could open it?
That's a really great question. So all these flashes are just coming into my mind. Yeah. So we have a really big parade in Chicago. It used to be like number 3 in the United States of America. I'm not sure where it's at now, but
what kind of parade is it?
It's called the Bud Billiken Parade. Okay. And it's celebrating like all of our culture of Chicago, mixed in with like, celebrity artists marching, like walking down the street on floats and stuff like that, dance troops, military, government officials, just people playing music, radio stations, like all that type of stuff, So this has been going on for about 60 years maybe now. Mm-hmm. And traditionally for the past 40 years, Chicago Footwork plays a really big part in that. So me and my crew, we didn't have an opportunity to be on the street of Martin Luther King Drive for the Bud Billiken Parade because you have to pay money to get a spot. But we still wanted to show up because it's in the neighborhood. So we would come and footwork outside of the street, like on the side of the street, and just like start a whole cipher there and just get it in.
So like a street show kind of thing.
Yeah. We do our own thing. We were kids. So we found our way over there, and 2005, we were doing like footwork ciphers and all that stuff, battling and stuff. There was a few people that had cameras out. Now, mind you, 2005, We're not talking iPhones and all this other stuff, right? We're talking like camcorders.
Yeah, VHS, yeah.
Yeah, that type of stuff, right? So the little mini ones, right? So
Yeah.
so we saw a few people videotaping us, but we didn't pay it any mind. We weren't used to it that much anyway. So later that year, maybe a couple months go by, I went to a party and this guy was passing out DVDs. DVDs, get your DVDs, you know. And so I look at one of the DVDs. I'm like, wait, why does that look like me on the DVD, on the cover? And the guy was like, wait, it's you. You're the dude. I was like, what are you talking about? He was like, I filmed you at the parade freestyling and I put you on the cover because you guys were killing it. I said, wow, that's crazy. Long story short, we made a connection. Shouts out to Ryan and Kiana.
What a small world.
I know, right? And they were all in the culture, you know, in their own way. They wanted to support in their own way. I think they were college students at the time. And we exchanged contacts. Next thing you know, they wanted to know more about my crew, which is called Creation. And they were coming to practices, and then they started promoting us to get us out there more. Then they started managing us, you know, like they were our first experience to having management. They started a company called Shytainment. They were getting us like opportunities to do timeout performances for the Chicago Bulls, backup dancing at DePaul University for Twista, who's a legendary hip hop artist. Just a lot of things, you know. And 106 in Park. 106 in Park on BET. We won that in 2006. Promoted through them. We won the first round, then they flew us back, won the whole finals, August 30th, 2006. MTV My Block, which was hosted by Sway at the time. Shouts out to Sway. He's a homie. And yeah, this was the beginning. That was the beginning. Little did I know while I was working at Popeye's Chicken at that time.
Did your coworkers know you dance?
Yes. I mean, I wear everything on my sleeves. Okay. So you're going to know right away. Like,
yeah, because that's one thing I always wonder, because I've seen Poppin Pete's Instagram, like sometimes he's wearing like a high vis vest and he's popping real hard, and you know. So I wonder if like his coworkers know how big he is. Right?
Yeah, right. They probably don't know. That's so funny.
Yeah.
No, I mean that would be funny. Like I'm pretty sure he surprised everybody by now. Yeah. I mean he can't hold that in. This guy just goes crazy. That's so funny. Yeah, I was popping at my Popeye's Chicken. I said popping. I was popping at my Popeye's Chicken. I was footworking. I probably was trying to pop. I was footworking at my Popeye's Chicken restaurant in my Popeye's Chicken uniform. Even on my lunch break, I would drive to the skating rink, to the Markham skating rink, and battle everybody in the party with my purple shirt and my pants and everything like that. People would shout me out on the mic like, "Yo, we got King Charles in here footworking in his Popeye's uniform, smelling like chicken." You know, give me a 20 piece. So,
I'm glad I asked.
Yeah, right. Yo, I learned a lot of moves on that Popeye's floor, like because just a lot of grease on there, and you like learn how to get creative.
That's wow, that's awesome, because I always thought that was like baby powder, but for some people it's like chicken grease or something.
It's actually freaking chicken grease. That is horrible. I mean, I'm vegan now too, and I'm over here, like it's so crazy. Yeah, but those were the days. But little did I know that like right around the corner, like it was gonna be a blast off, you know.
Yeah. So at this point, did your parents start joining in, like the buy-in?
Yeah, they were supporting a bit more. My mom definitely. She was, you know, like I said, I taught her a move when I was young. She always knew I had some talent. Of course, I was still in school though. But I think she believed, you know, that I could at least like be the best in Chicago at something. You know, yeah. She didn't know where it was going to take me though. But the MTV My Block and the 106 in Park, that was huge. Now I wasn't bringing in any money, but the exposure was great. And then in 2007, then everything changed. Like literally 2007, everything changed.
So I got to ask, what happened in 2007?
I know, right? Well, 2006, Lady Soul, who I mentioned earlier, who's a mentor of mine and a former manager, for a professional performance company called the Footwork Kings. And the founder, she's a founder.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you about that because I think somehow I knew you were associated with them, right?
Yeah.
Before, but now I know that you've been promoting Creation Global, so some kind of jump happened, right? Yeah.
Yes. So Creation Global is my crew, and I started that in 2001. My second year of sixth grade, which I tell a lot of people now, like I did sixth grade twice, and my second time doing sixth grade, met a couple friends, and we started a crew together called Creation. Creation Global came when we became global in 2000, like I want to say 14, something like that. Yeah. So, so 2006, Lady Soul introduced me or was talking about Brian Green and was also talking about me teaching for her at a high school. Now the funny part is I didn't finish high school. Okay, I was working at Popeyes. I was trying to finish high school, ended up not finishing. My mom was like, I can't keep paying for you to go to school and you're just like performing and doing all this stuff and you're not doing the work. So maybe you should just get your GED. Okay. So now I'm working full time at Popeyes. I'm the best worker there. I swear to you, I was fully invested just trying to show that I could be a great worker so I could make more money, all this other stuff, good with the customers. Actually, I was bringing attention there because I was on newspaper articles. And so people would come there not just to order chicken, but be like, oh, you're that guy that's trying to like push towards his dreams and dance and like do all this other stuff. And you work at Popeyes. I just wanted to see you in person, show you some love, I encourage you to keep pushing and doing what you're doing,
That's way cool.
Yeah, I had like local like love like that, And so, then Lady Soul asked me if I wanted to teach as her assistant and go from what I was making at Popeyes, which was $6.50 an hour. Wow. Nobody even knows what that feels like anymore. $6.50 an hour. To $23 an hour at age 20. So I wanted to go to the meeting to just check things out, but my manager at Popeyes was like, I need you at work. I was like, well, can I at least be 1 hour late? I'm never late. Like I'm always here. She said, if you don't come at all. I said, come on, stop playing. You know me. Like, I'm here. Just give me an hour. She said, Charles, I need you at work right now or don't come. I took that really seriously. I don't think she knew how serious I took it. So I didn't come back. And I just went straight for Lady Soul to see if she would hire me. And I started teaching at the high school with her, which is so crazy because I just left high school. Now I'm back in as a real teacher on the staff next to the math teachers, the science teachers, all this stuff. And I'm a teacher for the dance class. It was an organization ran by the mayor's wife called After School Matters that pays students to do after school programs if they keep their attendance up, their behavior, good and stuff. So our dance students got paid stipends and stuff throughout the year to like stay in those classes and do a end of the school year performance.
Well, that's great. I don't know what else was involved in that program, but from the sound of it sounds like a really good idea.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome. And I was one of the first footworkers to do that, or the first footworker to be in that program teaching in 2006. And then Lady Soul started finding me more opportunities. By the way, the management that I was with before, they let us go in 2006 after we won the 106 in Park thing.
So wait, you guys won and they let you go? How does that make sense?
Okay, yeah. So the way I took it at age 18, 19, 20. At age 20, the way I took it was we didn't give them enough recognition for the work that they were doing. And they felt like we were ungrateful. And they wanted to release us or let go of us. And so that's how I took it. So I freaked out and I contacted Lady Soul to see if she could help, keep supporting us kids in our career that hasn't even developed yet. I reached out. She was looking out for me. We got close and she was like my teacher. And she started like finding different opportunities. By the way, she's also connected to the dancers that did Music Makes You Lose Control when they did Chicago Footwork in the video with Missy in 2005. She was connected to that opportunity as well. So she was in the industry before, dancing with Busta Rhymes and doing a lot of music videos and stuff, living in LA. Her family's from Mexico, you know, and she's a major pillar for Chicago house and hip hop, you know, in the 90s. In her own way, she supported majorly. And so she took me under her wing. And then in 2007, I got asked to audition for a substitute position with those 4 dancers for the Missy Elliot Music Makes You Lose Control. They had a VH1 Hip Hop Honors Awards for Missy Elliott and a few other artists like Snoop and people like that to perform in front of them, in honor of them. And one of the dancers couldn't make it. So they did an audition in Chicago. I made the audition, I made the cut. And I was going to New York to dance with these 3 dancers on stage. It was October the 3rd, 2007. I know for sure because that was my 21st birthday on the exact day.
You couldn't ask for a better birthday.
Couldn't ask for a better birthday than to go to New York and dance next to Fat Man Scoop on stage and Missy and all this stuff. It was amazing. I still got the tags from that. And I just felt like maybe I'm actually going places. Like this is happening. We got paid and everything. And Sierra, Timbaland, Tweet, Nelly Furtado, all these people on the stage. I also got to be in the audience after the show and watch the concert and like watch Busta Rhymes perform and all this stuff. So it was crazy.
Was there ever a moment where you were starstruck, or how did you process all this? Because it sounds like it's a lot to take in.
Yeah, I saw Lupe Fiasco there, and that kind of blew me away. Like I was like, wow, that's Lupe. I mean, I always try to keep my cool.
Yeah.
I think there's only a few times in my career where like a celebrity around me made me just put my hands up and just kind of freak out. I think that was when I was at one of the Oscar parties with Madonna for and Salma Hayek walked past. Yeah, I couldn't handle that. She was like a goddess or something. I was like, I can't handle this right now. I can't look at her. Like she's floating across the room.
She was levitating.
Yeah, she was levitating, and someone was holding her hand. Like she had this ancient dress on, like with the whole neck around. It was like Egyptian or something. It was crazy. Yeah, that was the only time. Yeah. But every other time I kept my cool. But yeah, so 2007 that happened, and then that same year, we also did a Verizon Wireless commercial audition that came to Chicago through the choreographer Fatima Robinson, she's an awesome human being, and I booked it. So I did my first Verizon Wireless commercial in 2007 as well, and that one was great. It was a cell phone commercial called The Juke.
Oh, really?
The phone was called The Juke. Yeah. Yeah.
How perfect.
I know, right? Watch me move, watch my juke. There's a whole video on YouTube and everything. So yeah, I booked that, which made a lot of residuals because the commercial kept running for a while. So I learned about residuals and all that stuff. And then an agency called Block from LA contacted Lady Soul and said, hey, we've been keeping a good eye on you guys, and we feel like that specialty style should come to this audition in LA for Madonna. We think that, it would be a great opportunity for them. So 3 of us flew to LA. I had the flu at the time. And long story short, we made it through 3 days. Madonna saw us, wanted 2 of us, and the rest is history. We started touring with her for 2 years. So at the end of 2007, I was on the road with Madonna, and we didn't finish until 2009. We only had 2 breaks, which was 10 days and 13 days in 365 days times 2. So that was my 22nd birthday and my 23rd birthday on the road. So when I say everything blasted off, like we made the announcement at Brian Green's party in New York.
House Dance Conference?
House Dance Conference. We made the announcement there. Lady Soul and Brian, they had us come out. Brian also brought Mike Manson and Strings from Detroit, so that New York could see the exchange between their style of house, Detroit JIT, and Chicago Footwork all in one room. And he had us judge the competition. Legendary people were in that competition. Shouts out to Shanez. He won the whole thing that night. I remember it like it was yesterday. And at the end of the event, and then who won the hip hop category? Eric. Yeah. Eric. What's his last name? Okay, Eric. Just my bro Eric. He won the hip hop category against Maho in the finals. And so we made the announcement at the end of the night that we booked the promo tour for Madonna. And we did a couple performances that night as the Footwork Kings. So I was still a part of Creation, my family crew, but we were also creating this professional performance ensemble called the Footwork Kings, where we signed under Lady Soul by that time. By the time we did Madonna, we were Footwork Kings members. And it was like a super crew. It wasn't just my crew in it. It was people from other crews all joined together to represent like a front line of what Chicago Footwork is from the city. So
okay, and the other members were all from Chicago as well?
Yes, okay. Yes, all from the South Side and the West Side. So we had people like people from this crew called 187 in the Footwork Kings ensemble, Havoc crew, Creation, Heat Squad. We even had a member from Terror Squad at one point, a couple of people from Terror Squad. Yeah. And these are all different crews, but they were like joining together to represent.
So let's backtrack a little bit to when you were on the road with Madonna. Like, what was your experience working in the entertainment industry, and how do you balance out from like what the commercial industry wants versus what you're willing to give?
Oof.
You know, because there's two visions there, right? One is you want to stay true, I would imagine, to what you do, and they have their own ideas and their own needs based on whoever is in charge. I guess Madonna in that case, right?
Yes. Wow. Well, when you're 21 years old, 22 years old, and you're touring with the Queen of Pop, you're gonna naturally be a yes person sometimes, or most of the time. Oh yeah, I can do it. Yeah, I can do it. You know.
Yeah, it's part of the game, right?
It's part of the game. But at the same time, you know, you need to know who you are. And hopefully you're at that place in your life where you know who you are, you know? Because, or you need some type of representation that knows who you are, that supports you and that values you. And we had that. We had both of those. I knew who I was already. I've already been pushing in Chicago since I was 14 years old, you know, to earn the respect there. And that meant more to me than anything. You know, if I felt like you weren't from my hood and you didn't understand anything about that, like, your opinion didn't mean as much to me than the opinion of my people in my city, you know? So there was a part of me that was never scared, like, and that there was always a line that no matter who you are, if you cross this line, I'm out. Right? You know, and I'm glad I had that as my foundation, my roots, moral compass, if that's what you want to call it. But yes, stepping into the industry, you know, you get so excited and you're like, oh my God, like, you know, Madonna wants us to choreograph her last song for the show, which she did. You know, she had 26 numbers and she wanted us to choreograph the last song called Give It To Me. And this was the song that was going to close out every show for the next 2 years, produced by Pharrell Williams. And we were going to do it. We were super hyped. During rehearsals, you know, we were super hyped. We were going to choreograph it, but then something told me like, wait. Lady Soul told me if any other thing gets added on, any updates, let her know before I make any moves. Okay. So I called Lady Soul. I said, yo, Lady Soul, guess what? They want us to choreograph Give It To Me. She was like, okay, calm down. I know you're excited. Congratulations. This is great. Next thing I need you to do is I need you to tell them to contact me. I said, yeah, but we already kind of told them like we're down to do it. No. I need you to tell them to contact me. Did you sign anything? No. Tell them to contact me. You sure? Like, what if they don't want us to do it anymore because they got to talk to you? That's what I'm here for. We got to set this up the right way. So there was a lot I needed to learn there, and not to be scared about like, you know, people like not wanting to work with you because they don't want to talk to your manager or your representation. Your representation is here for you, right? So I asked, you know, the homie, Stephanie, who was the one who asked us to choreograph. And I was like, hey, is it okay if you contact Lady Soul, my manager, before we get started on that? She was like, oh, yeah, no problem. Boom. Got on the phone with her. Boom. They set everything up. We got a buyout deal that was added on to like what we were getting paid on the tour to be choreographers. And we got credit in the book for all the time, you know, and that was awesome to get that experience. And yeah, there's definitely some pressures. There's definitely some hard times. Me and Jayron had some extreme hard times because we had to fight each other every show. They made a number in the show called Die Another Day where Madonna goes under the stage, changes her wardrobe, and me and Jayron have to perform in front of 100,000 people and keep them engaged with no one else on the stage. So how do you do that?
It's a tall order.
Right. So we literally had to learn professional boxing. During rehearsals, we had a boxing coach, and we were not allowed to be with the other dancers doing boxing training. So we had to go into a whole nother place every day doing crazy drills. I'm talking handstands to strengthen our arms, jumping over ropes, boxing the coach. Like one time I was at the gym and I was hitting the bag and like missed because I didn't know how to do it right, and like peeled like a bunch of my skin back because it got caught on the railing or something like that. Really crazy stuff. Like, and then we had to choreograph and create a boxing Chicago Footwork performance that was fused between both of them.
Wow.
Right. So, and then
you know what I'm hearing now? I'm hearing, and now for my next trick.
Exactly. So, and then like before we even got to the stage with it, we had to present it in front of Madonna while she's sitting there with her daughter, like, and do it. And like, and Madonna asked us to do it with no gloves. So we have to swing at each other and know what we're doing, not hurt each other, but make it look real and just kill the footwork. After we presented it to Madonna, these were her exact words. So you guys hit like pussies and my daughter can hit harder than you. So if you don't get this together, then I'm going to have to find someone who can. And Jayron at that point had never even been in a fight. I was his first fight. So he had to find it in him to actually hit me. And so every night when we finally started to perform, like you would see Jay, you know, sliding up to me and we're about to get ready to do this fighting dance sequence and everything. And his eyes are watery and red and he's just pissed. I don't know what he was thinking about. I don't know if he was thinking about like imagining me like doing something horrible to him or something like that. But whatever he did, he tapped in, you know, and I looked at him every night. I was like, let's do this, Jay, you know. And yeah, man, it was epic. But like we had to say yes to a lot of things. But we still managed to like know who we were and like have our integrity and like know that we're one of a kind.
Is this on YouTube?
This is all on YouTube.
Okay, I'm gonna find it. You mind?
Go ahead. Yeah. Yep.
There we go.
Nostalgia. So they're gonna show me first. That's me. I get up and I freestyle, and then Jayron freestyles.
Who's that right there?
That's me.
That's you?
Yeah. Prince Jayron.
This is awesome, man.
Yeah. And like I said, she's downstairs like changing, getting ready. Here we go.
You guys are really going, huh?
Yeah. Bust a move. Bust a move.
Yeah,
Bust a move. Now it gets we start hitting each other. Wow. Throw him down, kick him in the stomach. She had us do all of this every night.
And this is in front of 100,000 people, huh?
100,000.
So, like, how hard did you have to tap in before she gave you the buy-in from originally not being convinced? You know, like, in a weird way, the fast forward kind of works with boxing. Like,
Oh yeah.
I didn't really know how it's gonna play out, but it's playing out.
Oh yeah. That's so funny.
Right?
Yeah, no, we had to really sell it, man. We had to really sell it. And then this is the closing scene. Lasso combo. Boom, dodge, boom, boom, hatch, poof. Jayron. I'm not gonna die yet. What was that? That's like 12, 13 years ago. It's crazy, man.
Yeah, dude, like, how many people know this?
Exists?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, all the Madonna fans, but...
Well, I mean, like, no, like, how many people from your side know that exists, you know?
Well, no, they all know I dance for Madonna. I'm not sure how many people have seen it, but I'm assuming because this was like one of the biggest things that's ever happened for Chicago Footwork,
Yeah.
that everybody saw it. And you want to know what's funny?
What's up?
What's funny is, you might even want to get the YouTube ready for this one, but
Okay.
What's funny is that I didn't think I was going to like be back on stage after that. Cause I just wanted to do my own work and, really appreciative of what she did for us. But in 2015, it was Valentine's Day and I was in Tokyo. And I found out when I was at a business meeting with my manager at the time that Madonna was doing a show at the Tokyo Dome. I was like, oh. So I made a couple texts, got some tickets for me and my manager. So we went to the Tokyo Dome to surprise her. Next thing you know, I'm sitting in the audience because I didn't get a chance to see her. Saw some friends who were choreographing for her. And I was like, yeah, I just wanted to surprise Madonna. And they were like, well, maybe you still got a chance. Because in the show, on this tour, we bring an audience person on stage to dance with her. And it's just a random person. Maybe we could switch the person from the audience out with you and surprise her with you on the stage. So they did that. And then here I am on stage getting spanked and licking bananas with Madonna. And so that happened in 2015.
Which video is this?
That's I think if you just type King Charles and Madonna, and then she introduces me. It's funny because I think they only posted the They might have only posted the dance part.
Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for King Charles. Yes, hello, the unapologetic bitch for tonight.
Not the banana.
It's
Not the
an
banana.
amazing dancer that I worked with before. His name is King Charles. It's so nice to see you. Some of that hair. Oh.
That's really cool of her to give you such a big shout out. It's nice when dancers get shout out like that versus just being pushed to the side, you know?
Exactly. No, she really loves her dancers. She's really serious about that.
So before you went to New York, were you aware of like the dance in the scene in New York, or did you kind of just learn about it upon getting there?
I knew a little bit about the dance scene in New York because I went to New York a couple times in 2006, tried to go to a couple clubs, but I didn't really experience it until I booked Madonna and like they started rehearsals in New York. So all of our rehearsals were in New York and Brooklyn. So like I was trying to go to clubs every night after rehearsal. So that's where I met all the OGs. The only OGs I knew before I got there was Brian Green and Buddha Stretch. Mm-hmm. But after that, I was going to clubs called Sin Sin, Soulgasm, Sullivan Room, Funk Box, just all different types of places. And I was a pit bull back then, because in Chicago, the only way that you like communicate when you're dancing is like you battle, not just like organized battles, but like personal, one-on-one, like whatever, 5-on-3, it doesn't matter. This is our life, like just all night, let's just go. Mm-hmm. So whoever was the best in the room, I wanted to come to them and do rounds at them so that they can see me and I can see them and maybe we can connect afterwards. That's how I did it.
Yeah. Do you remember some of these exchanges? Yeah.
Oh yeah. So one of them was Tony McGregor in New York. Shouts out to Tony McGregor. Another one was this guy named Mike.
Mike Euphoria? That Mike or a different Mike?
Yeah, I think he has dreads. House dancer.
So I'm not sure what he looks like back then or right now, but I know there's a Mike Euphoria, and I've seen that Mike house dance before.
Yeah, he might live in Italy now.
Okay, that I'm not familiar with.
But it might be him though. It might be his last name. And then there was another interaction with Ejoe, but the one with Ejoe, it was really funny because I ran into him at a party in Brooklyn, and I asked some of my friends, I was like, yo, all right, so who's the best in this place right now? Like, who's one of the dopest in here? Or with that guy over there, that's Ejoe, so yeah, I was like, all right, cool, stay where you're at, I'll be right back. So I go over there and I try to like battle him, me and my guys. And he didn't even know that we were there. He was just floating around, just like looking, spinning on the floor and everything like that. I was like, yo, why is he not paying attention to us? What do we got to do to get his attention? Those were some of the nights that really taught me about the different cultures and like why people are dancing, because it was different in my generation, So I learned a lot going to those clubs. And then I eventually was like, okay, I need to like understand. So let me start it from the basics. Let me just act like I'm a club head. Let me just act like one of these people that just lives in the parties, Like there was parties like that called the Shelter, where it goes on. Like I went to a Shelter party one time. It went on from 10 p.m. to 10 p.m. the next day, actually. Yeah.
I've heard many stories from New Yorkers that tell me, oh yeah, it's 4 a.m. just got to the club kind of thing.
Exactly. Well, that was the situation. Like I went to the Shelter and I left at 4 a.m. right? And like some of my friends, I was like, sorry, so what you guys about to do? You gonna go to the house and go sleep? They were like, yeah, we're gonna go to sleep, and then probably wake up, eat some food, and then go back up there. I was like, right, for the next night, right? No, we're probably gonna go like at 1 or something like that. You're gonna go at 1? Like you just left. You're gonna go at 1? It's still open? It's like, yeah. So we went back and certain people were still in there blowing their whistles, like no shirts on, like going crazy. I said, this is crazy. Like, what? Like, you live here.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I just saw all that passion and it really taught me like other ways on like how to connect my dance. So then I learned New York house, which there's a big difference between New York house and Chicago house. So I learned New York house through those clubs. Yeah.
Yeah, and what was your experience learning New York house like?
Yeah. Oh, flowy.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of flowing. Just flowing with the crowd, with the people, with the music.
Because like the first time I ever saw New York house dancers, I actually didn't really understand what I was looking at.
Right.
You know.
Right.
Where actually, to be honest, my eyes back then may have thought it was like slow, low energy, or boring. You know. To be honest,
yeah.
I don't feel that way now. Obviously, but now I can
yeah.
see what's going on. But before, it was like, this is really chill. Is what I used to think. You know?
Right. Well, I mean, yeah. When I saw certain people get down with house, like back then, like I was really footwork based, and I didn't know that like I should look at it in a hip hop way. So I didn't look at it in a hip hop way.
What does that mean? Can you explain that?
So some people would say that the lifestyle that I lived in Chicago, especially as a kid, was pretty much a hip hop lifestyle. You know, has the same things that like happened in the Bronx and New York and all these places with hip hop in my city, you know, from the good and the bad, you know, from the social dancing, the barbecues, the being with the family, you know, just the different dance moves that we would do with the family, from watching Kid and Play and all this other type of stuff. The rapping and all that stuff. Common was our legendary MC, you know. We listened to all of that. 3-6 Mafia, all of this stuff. The way we dressed, the way we talked, the slang, you know. This wasn't connected more so to the spirit of some places for house than it versus like the spirit of hip hop, you know. So, but I never thought about when I was 21 looking at like a Tony McGregor or like a Khalif or something like that and think like, oh, let me check out. Like, I wasn't looking for hip hop. I was looking for their footwork because that's what I was in heavy. So I'm looking down. I'm like, what they talking about, you know? Okay, let me show you what I'm talking about, you know? And it wasn't until I started getting in the clubs and actually, shouts out to a few people. Shouts out to Nikki, Teresa, Mawu, the group Mawu, everybody that used to take me to places. Melanie Aguirre, my sis Melanie Aguirre, you know, like all these people. She was House of Ninjas at the time. All these people that used to like take me out with them to the clubs. Oh yeah, and then the guy that won that hip hop battle that I said at House Dance Conference, his name was Eric Negron. Yeah, Eric Negron. Shouts out to Eric. So yeah, I started like going to the clubs and just vibing instead of trying to take over a circle. See, that's a different mentality. You know, there's people who just want to come and just like compete in battles nowadays. You know, but they're not trying to socialize. They're not trying to be in a circle. You see them, those people at the events with the attitude and all this other stuff. Like, first of all, why you fronting? Like, why you fronting like that? Like, you're here to dance, you know, but it's all good. So like, I'm in there just trying to see what this person's doing that's doing this same move over and over in the club. They just jacking. They're standing right next to the DJ, just like rocking, just jacking. I'm like, you really in love with that jack. You going in right now. And, you know, I grew up around that, so I recognize that in the social functions, because your parents are doing moves, your family are doing moves, but they're not doing it to impress and to do crazy stuff. They're doing it because that's their pocket. So I started chasing after people's pockets. That sounds really crazy, chasing after people's pockets.
I know you mean.
But you get what I'm saying, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I wanted to know how people are sitting in this thing, this music and this soulful thing. And so I would take bits and pieces from everyone, you know, so I can understand it more until I can work my way into the circle all over again and understand the language that people are speaking, you know. So that's what I did. It was horrible at first. Every time I learned something, I went back to Chicago, tried to do it to Chicago Footwork music. It didn't feel right because Chicago Footwork music was 160 BPM and I was super stiff. I can't even watch those videos anymore. I looked horrible. And but then I realized I still needed to get more grounded and like understand more of the foundation. So between New York and going to France on tour, I started learning more and more about how to take my time and be in a different element. I kind of connect these things to elements now, like Avatar elements. Like Chicago is fire-based. So the dance is fire-based. Most of our dances are fire-based. But New York house, for me, is more like earth-based to me, or water-based, one of those two, or a mix of both. Definitely wouldn't say it's fire-based, though. If I was to say what's fire-based, I would say maybe breaking or crump, you know. So Chicago Footwork is more connected that route.
I see. That actually makes sense. At least I see what you're talking about.
Yeah. So, but I needed to learn earth water type. So it took me out of my element, but it was great, you know, which brought me all the way back around to hip hop. And I started doing like way more hip hop. Shouts out to Khalif, because he was the first guy to like push me into a hip hop battle that was like an organized thing in Czech Republic. So yeah, you know, I was just going on the journey at the end of the day and like learning all these different things that were inside of me already.
Did learning these new elements allow you to see what you already do in a different way?
Yeah. You just break apart what you're doing. You look at it from the outside looking in.
Because I think that's something that whether a dancer or any other art form that a lot of artists go through, where you kind of hit this, I wouldn't say a wall, but like a fork in the road where your artistry is going to go next, right? Whether it's like something completely off or something that gives you the ability to see what you already do, but kind of tweak it in a different way.
Yes.
and give new life to it.
Yes. I mean, I was very fortunate. My mom moved me from town to town growing up. So I went to 4 different high schools. So I've always moved my whole life in Chicago, which means every time I moved to a new neighborhood, I looked for Chicago Footwork and I found it. But I found different crews every time. And every time I found a different crew, I found a different teacher. And every time I found a different teacher, I got a different style. So I was able to learn a bunch of different styles and techniques at a young age that started to grow on me when I was older. And I just kept building on that, getting under people's wings in New York, getting under people's wings in California, and just learning different ways on how people interpret. And then examining my own stuff whenever I had my private time, breaking it down. And then as a teacher, you have the opportunity to be a student by like helping your student and then like learning from what they're discovering, you know? And so I was always doing that. And I've always had students around me. So honestly, I don't think I've ever like skipped a beat. I don't think I've ever had like a lot of struggle trying to create.
What was your experience spreading Chicago Footwork in relation to house music in regards to New York, right? So you know how New York's is pretty much spread all around the world right now?
Exactly.
So do you feel like that made it easier to spread Chicago, or it kind of made it more challenging because people are used to that New York flavor? That's
funny you asked that, because the more I started pushing Chicago Footwork through like being on tour with Madonna and all that other stuff, I was going to Paris and trying to get into studios and stuff. The New York OGs were opening the doors for me to do it. Plain and simple. 2009, I went to Juste Debout. Okay, me and Prince Jayron. We were staying at a friend's house who was on tour with us from Madonna. His name was not Yamsen. They're all in a group called Wanted Posse. Mm-hmm. So my bro Yamsen, him and his wife Emily was like, yeah, you can stay with us. And Yamsen was like, you don't know about Juste Debout? You need to come here and experience Juste Debout. It was the biggest event. You know, it was about 20,000 seater arena. Mm-hmm. Even Madonna performed there. We went into this little town, the shopping town center called Châtelet. and we saw a dance studio, and we heard like this banging house music, me and Jayron. It was like, yo, what's that? Looks like a dance studio. Boom, let's go in. Boom, we go in. We're looking to see what's going on. We look and we see a dance class happening. Guess who's teaching? Brian Green. In Paris, right? Now, we don't know anybody in Paris. We know him from New York from 2007. It's 2009 now. He sees us. We see him. He waves us in. We come in. He's like, hey, class. So these are two of my friends, King Charles and Prince Jayron. And I know I was about to teach you guys, but now I'm not. Charles, Jayron, this is your class now. Out of nowhere, we have a class. And this was our first class in Paris. Never forget it, you know. And we were teaching students from Sweden and all these places. And it just planted the seed, you know what I mean? So me and Jayron started trying to figure out how we can promote ourselves to be teachers on the road. But like this started happening all the time. So every time we promoted ourselves and we learned on how to get to a certain place, we would see other OGs there already, like Buddha Stretch. Like he would put in good words for us and be like, yo, you guys need to have Chicago Footwork here. You know, like I said, Khalif was looking out. Even two of my main students from Pittsburgh that moved to Los Angeles, Ant and Tao, they rep a company called Artifact. The reason why they came to LA to train was to train with me because their teacher is Sekou. And Sekou was like, well, if you're going to LA, Charles lives out there, so train with him. Like they always been looking out for us. I'm a part of the 36 Chambers staff. So I teach at 36 Chambers every year in New York. And they've just been showing love. And honestly, I'm really grateful. But if I'm just going to be honest, when I first came to New York, like I wasn't expecting no help from nobody. I was just going to like work for it, you know, earn it, you know. And I feel like I still was trying to do that, but like they were looking out for me. But I knew I was going to go to every club and try to get, you know, respect the old school way, which I honestly feel like people should still be doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much paying your dues, right?
Pay your dues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's go back to when you were first in New York, because earlier I asked if you knew about New York before getting there, right? So when you were there, did New York know about Chicago Footwork or about you before you got there? Like, what was that like?
I don't feel like people knew about Chicago Footwork or me too much. Brian did. And I don't know if that's because he did some research or something or because he knew Lady Soul and they were talking. Yeah,
you know, Brian's, shout out to Brian. He shows me like so many dancers that I didn't know existed. Like I've seen him do so many stuff where I'm like, whoa, like, this dude is on another level.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I've been to a bunch of places with him before. I even taught like a class with him before. It was me, him, Tony Czar, and Strings, if I'm not mistaken, teaching a class together to show the different types of footwork. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then I was in Brazil with him before. We was in multiple places together, and yeah, his dancing is crazy.
Yeah, whenever I'm around Brian Green, like I pretty much don't talk the whole time because there's nothing I can really say to him. You know, it's just like I'm just kind of downloading information.
That's so funny. Yeah. I even took one of his classes at a Broadway Dance Center a long time ago, and honestly, my head popped off and got kicked and rolled down the hallway or something. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know. Like, how do you take this in? Like, we were like triple multitasking, like with our bodies and stuff. Like, it was crazy. Yeah,
the first, my first experience with a Brian Green class before, like actually knowing him, but just taking his class. Yeah. In that one class, I thought I should quit dance, like just right then and there. You know, I was like, I think this is it.
I think this is the this is the line right here. That's so funny. That is too funny.
Yeah, but you know what? What's even funnier is I think a lot of people have that kind of experience where it's like it's so high level that initially you're like, just do I really want to climb this Mount Everest right now? Yeah.
Right. Well, you know, and that's why like I take my teaching so seriously, because I feel like most people already are intimidated by Chicago Footwork. When they see it, they're like, that's not the style that I'm going to go take class in, because they see it full tempo, like 160 BPM. They're like, that looks crazy. Never. I'm not taking that class, you know? And I want to get that out of people's minds because I want people to feel encouraged to be able to come to class and learn from a professional, a practitioner of the style, educator of the style. And so that's why my crew is about 85 members around the world now, because like we're building on that belief system to do it the right way. But I also like the fact that Chicago Footwork is so complex that if you don't have a teacher, you're not going to learn it. Like there is no way that this is that style that like you just watch YouTube videos and you become the best. Never. Not in a million years. I'm sorry. That's not happening.
So I hear you. And with that said, have you come across anyone who's not qualified to teach trying to teach it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. There's people definitely that try to, the shortcutters, you know.
Okay.
There's definitely those people. And there's, some of them are not shortcutters. They're more like they didn't know. So
like whether they're a shortcutter or they're just not qualified for whatever reason, is that handled a certain way within the Chicago culture?
Yes. Well, within the Chicago culture from my crew, I can't speak for other crewmates.
Yeah.
But for my crew, we're definitely we definitely send them a bunch of messages asking questions. Who's your teacher? How long have you been doing Chicago Footwork? Where are you from? Have you been to any battles before? Are you in any crew? Are you teaching these classes with not a lot of experience and taking money from kids and saying that you're a professional? And they don't like those questions. Mm-hmm. And then they realize that like, okay, maybe I do need to take this more seriously or just not act like I'm a professional, because I have 85 members that are going to message you all on your comments and everything, you know, and ask you, you know, and you're not going to feel good about it if you can't really represent. So we also invite them to come and take class the right way. Like, hey, no excuse. I teach 2 classes online every week. You know what I mean? No excuse. There's footworkers in your city already, you know. So we provide all these services so that people can do it the right way, or, you know, don't teach it professionally. I'm not saying don't do it, but like, I don't agree with people that want to take money from people and act like they are certified. You know what I mean? Because they don't realize that people have died for this. People are working really hard to feed their family, you know, and this is their pride and joy. This same dance and this culture, it keeps people sane, stops people from killing themselves, all types of different struggles that no one has an idea about, you know, because their system is more privileged to have government support really, really easily. Like, oh, yeah, I just, you know, make a few calls and I have a studio class. You know, that's not how it is everywhere in the world. You know, like that's not how it is in a lot of these communities in the U.S. U.S. creates a lot of these dance styles, not all of them, but a lot of them. But like sometimes lacks the mindset of how to be a business or be professional about it. So then like other countries might have those accesses, those ways to turn it into a business. And all they need to do is learn it real quick. Boom, learn it. And then, you know.
Yeah, definitely Europe and Asia are like so good at turning into a business.
Yes. And that's how I started flying to Japan. I started flying to Japan because some people were trying to turn Chicago Footwork into their own little marketing brand on a television show. And I caught them. And they were doing our choreography. And
like straight up your choreography? Wow.
Straight up my whole choreography. They were wearing braids. I had braids. I was like, why would you? I knew that some of the guys, and I was like, why are you wearing braids all of a sudden? You know, doing Chicago Footwork, and Chicago Footwork's never been in Japan. You know, and our choreo, not just 1 count, not 2 counts. I'm talking like 8 8s.
Yeah, that's definitely like very egregious. There's no way you can talk your way out of that.
No, you can't. So I contacted their teacher's teacher, and then their teacher's teacher contacted their teacher and told them, you need to fix this and apologize and bring him out. Brought me out. I stayed out there for 3 weeks, connected with many people as possible, and now I have my own crew in Japan, and I don't need them to bring me out anymore. Now I had an agency, management out there and everything.
Yeah, that's cool. The way that you guys handle it sounds very similar to how I've heard other capoeiristas handle lineage within capoeira, right? So, which in that regard, I'm sure there's a lot of diverse experiences, but yeah, I've heard stories of like showing up to a school and then, you know, doing a hoda, and then you might get knocked out if you're not you're not qualified.
Wow.
Yeah, because it is a martial art in the end too. Right?
Exactly. It is a martial arts. Do you do capoeira?
No, I don't. But I had a guest on here that does the capoeira, Mr. Nasir Ismail.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was on here recently, and we were just going in. It even got to a point where I think someone showed up to his school trying to kind of like that school versus school thing, right?
Right. Yeah. I remember a movie. You ever seen this movie called Only the Strong?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that movie. Well, we're in the same generation, so.
So like, have you had a time where you had to like call out a teacher, like in person, maybe during a class or in a battle or something like that?
In person, I don't think I've had to call out a teacher in person about doing Chicago Footwork.
Mm-hmm. When they're not qualified, yeah.
Yeah, like teaching Chicago. No one's gonna teach Chicago Footwork in person if I'm on the roster if they're not qualified.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they haven't so far. I think at the end of the day, people don't want to make a fool of themselves. And they think about it like, okay, how much training do I actually have? Am I a part of the community? And we try to show every day that it's a community and not a dance move. It's not a dance move. It's not just a party step. It's a whole way of life for a lot of people. And we broadcast that, and we teach that in our classes and everything. So like once we get to these camps, it's like, don't you dare try to be on the roster teaching Chicago Footwork when you see that people from Chicago or from official crews are coming. So we've been very fortunate to have people from around the world join our movement and our community and guide other people to do it the right way, or just do it in their own personal way and enjoy it until they're ready to come and, connect more and learn from the culture.
So like, speaking of the classes, what are some things that someone should look for as far as like, if they didn't know you or if they didn't know who's in Creation Global or not, right? Like, how can they tell whether a teacher is good or qualified? Like, what are the elements to look for?
Some of the elements to look for in the classes would be some of the verbal information that they explain, from the music to the movement to the culture. And also not just depending on the teacher's information, but doing your own background check and check up on stuff and your own research after the class or before the class. I don't even recommend anybody taking a class without checking to see what teacher you're about to take, because this is not the 80s. You know what I mean? Where you don't have access to that information.
Yeah.
You can, by the click of a button right now, you can get my whole breakdown. Who is King Charles Footwork? Just put King Charles Footwork. Don't just put King Charles, because you're going to get the King of England. But it wasn't always like that. Or you're going to get the dog, the King Charles dog.
Oh, really? Is it King Charles dog?
Oh, it's a spaniel that I've been competing with since like 2006. You type King Charles, this cute little spaniel with the fluffy ears from like Ladies in the Tramp. Oh, man, it's crazy. But yeah, no, you got to do your research and see like, what is this that you're about to take, at least a little bit. And then when you come in there, listen to the teacher, see what they're talking about, and ask some questions. Hey, what's the name of this music called? Like, I don't know. I mean, me personally, I'm not just here to teach you dance. I'm here to give you some historical information too, especially if you're not going to stay and hang out with us after the class. So let me just sprinkle a little bit here and there. For example, sometimes I'll come to class and be like, does anybody know where house music is from? They'll be like, from? I'm like, yeah, like the city, like the place, the birthplace, I'm not saying who made it, who created it. I'm saying where it's from. Some people be like, New York, like, incorrect. They played a huge part in creating the sound, but the birthplace was Chicago, okay? And then this is the really fun one. I look around and I'm like, does anybody know where Soul Train is from? And they're like, and they all quiet. And then somebody's like, LA? I'm like, nope. Also Chicago. because it was a small television show in Chicago that got picked up by a bigger company and moved to Los Angeles. That's when Poppin Pete and all these guys got on the show. And by then, if I ask a third question, they know I'm just going to keep saying Chicago.
There's a pattern here.
Okay. Yeah, so.
So you mentioned like the lifestyle. So what would you say is like the mentality or the philosophy of Chicago Footwork?
The mentality of the philosophy, well, rep your clique. Rep it through your dance, rep it through throwing up the sign, rep it through, your t-shirts, your uniforms, you know what I mean? It's almost like kung fu in certain ways, where it's like you got to rep your dojo and rep the style that you're learning from that place. You know what I'm saying? So like Terror Squad has their own style. That crew has their own style. Creation has our style. You know what I mean? Goon Squad has their style. The Era, Wolfpack, these crews that came before us, The Tunnel, 187, like all these crews, House-O-Matic, blah, blah, blah. So representing that to the best of your ability, showing your care and your loyalty and your commitment and your connection with your family through action. Zero hesitation. The music is everything. Talk that talk in the circle. No hesitation's a big one. Like in Chicago, we're big on like our reaction time. So if a footwork battle's about to go down, you got 1 second to get in this circle. It's not one of those types of things where it's like nobody's in the circle and they're just listening to the music and they're all trying to figure out who's gonna go. 1 second. That's why I said it's a fire based, That 1 second, if you get used to it, it feels like 5 seconds, So if someone doesn't go in like 2 seconds, it feels like an eternity just happened and someone should have went already.
I've heard in other talks, I forgot who this why, but it was one of the researchers where she says something like when something happens, we have a certain window to respond in, right?
Yeah.
And if you don't respond in that window, it actually gets way, way harder to do the action that you were initially going to do.
Yeah.
So it could be jumping to a circle or whatever else, but if you don't respond right away, it just like suddenly it just feels very heavy. Absolutely.
You start double questioning yourself and, like, just like, oh, you're super hesitant. Well, first of all, in Chicago, like if you hesitate, 10 people just jumped out instead of you. Like it's not, that's how it is. Because in my culture and in my generation, when they would play these parties at the juke parties, when they would play these songs at the juke party, the song would only last about 40 seconds before it changed to another track, because the DJs only had a certain amount of time on their sets. So they were trying to play footwork tracks, and they were trying to play so many that they would cut each track down to 40 seconds. Now imagine 40 seconds of a track, and this is 20 people's favorite track. And all it's gonna play for is 40 seconds. So it's gonna be a huge avalanche of people trying to get out, and only one can dance.
Okay, so speaking of tracks and people's favorite songs, I have to ask you, right?
Yeah.
So at which point did the song "It's Time for the Perculator" become such a a big heavy track, and like so that just tell me about that, because like for voguing it's like the hall dance, right? Yeah. But the certain track that just gets everybody off,
Oh yeah. Well, the Perculator, produced by Cashmere. Shout out to Cashmere. I used to be his backup dancer. I'm actually in the music video called "It's Time for the Perculator" too.
Oh really?
Yeah. So he might have shot one a long time ago, or maybe no, but I know he shot another one in like, what was that, 2010 or something like that. So I was in it. Lady Soul was in it, who I'm telling you about. A bunch of people were in it. Gampman, a lot of people were in it. But that song, I feel like it got popular in the 90s.
would that song be one of the songs that qualifies for everyone just like jumps into the circles right away?
Not this generation.
Okay.
Because that's house.
Okay.
So it's time for the Perculator. It's more in the house record.
Okay.
It's a Chicago house record.
Okay.
And Cashmere, his new name is Green Velvet. So he calls himself Green Velvet now. Yeah, it's time for the Perculator. So here's the thing. It's so popular that the world knows about it, right? And then even in the Chicago Footwork community, all the producers had to have one of their own versions of a Perculator sample in their tracks. So you name it. All the legendary producers got like perk samples, you know, like one of my crewmates who's also a part of a legendary DJ group called Beatdown House. His name is DJ T-Rail. He made a new record like a year ago called New Perks. So whenever you see the word perk, it's short for Perculator.
Okay.
That's what we call it. And then there's a dance for it and everything. So these are at 160 BPM, but they're still using the Perculator sample because it's just so timeless, you know? Everybody, RP Boo, like a bunch of them have like Perculator different versions or just the samples from the perk. It was just produced so perfectly.
Yeah. I've definitely seen a lot of videos with that song playing.
Yeah. And then like there's this new song, it's time for the Torculator. That's funny. And what's funny about it is that like the new generation thinks that that's an original song. Mm-hmm. Like it's time for the Torculator, you know. As the older you get, you start digging in the crates and you start realizing, wow, there's like generation after generation after generation of where that song got inspired from.
I feel old for saying this, but I met kids recently that did not know who Michael Jackson is.
Don't say that.
No. Your reaction, what I was like, it's one of the things where you don't realize that you could ever even come across, you know. But there's literally kids that don't know who Michael Jackson is, and I was like, this is nuts.
Oh wait, but you're serious?
Yeah, I am serious.
How did you?
I forgot where it was and who I was talking to, but it's one of those things where it's like just by chance I was talking to somebody and they're like, yeah, we don't know who Michael Jackson is, and I was like, what in the hell? Like,
what?
yeah. So now I wonder, like, damn, did the people before me feel this way about me for other topics?
Right. I mean, that's a thing.
Yeah,
that's a thing. It's but I never thought it would be a thing with Michael.
Yeah, I know.
Are you kidding me? Wow.
I used to have this idea that Chicago Footwork needs to be or could only be done at a certain BPM, right?
Yeah.
And I was going to ask you that, but then I went on your Instagram and I saw you dancing to, I think, a Maxwell song, which is like a slow song, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So tell me about how you started branching to other forms of music as far as that.
Yes. Okay. So just to set the record straight, a lot of us, you know, guys used to footwork in the parties to get attention from the girls as teenagers. That was a major thing. In these parties, they would play 30 minutes of juke music, 30 minutes of reggae, 30 minutes of trap, hip hop, and then they would definitely play 30 minutes of R&B. Okay. Now, these are teen night parties, but they're dancing with each other in there. I just put it to you like that. Okay. So we all want to get into our dance mode with somebody and get the attention from somebody. So if they're only playing 30 minutes of Chicago Footwork tracks and we paid $6.50 to get in here, I'm not going to sit around and just not do anything after the 30 minutes. Some people choose to, we chose not. So we decided, let's keep on dancing. So we started like training ourselves to be able to hear the music more in a way that can complement our dance. And we knew that if we did overtime to footwork, to R&B, to this and to that, like we would get more attention than anybody in the party. And that's all we wanted. We wanted all the attention. So that's just kind of what it was. And we got it, you know. And then at the same time, we got more training, you know. And then I started taking that really serious. So I started bringing CDs to practice, to the crew practices with like different songs on them that I downloaded from LimeWire or something like that, you know. And some of those songs people hated, like, yo, we're going to practice the rock music today, you know. And then I started really dreaming big. I was like, yo, you never know when we go out here in the world, like what we're going to have to dance to. This is before Madonna, before all of this. You never know what we're going to have to dance to. So we got to be ready, man. We got to be ready for anything. No excuses. When we go out there in the world and somebody puts something in our face, we don't want to be super surprised when we say we can't do it. Let's do it today, you know. So we practice to rock music, R&B music, whatever, man. And those are some of the most precious moments, you know, some of the most precious moments. I know they hated it as kids. They were like, come on, man, can we just footwork the footwork tracks, man? That's all we want to dance to. But where do you think some of these tracks came from? Where do you think some of these tracks were inspired from, you know? Like if the producer themselves are 40 years old, then in the 80s and the 90s, they had favorite songs. And they probably want to bring those songs back, you know? So it's all connected. But yeah, so Maxwell, yeah. In Chicago Footwork, if you're dancing to other genres of music, whatever you're listening to, you're trying to hear the double time in it. Okay? We don't just listen to the ka, 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 ka. We hear the ka, 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 ka in everything that we do. So if I can hear that metronome or that sound in the music, I'm good money. I'm great, you know? So.
Yeah, let me try pulling up that Maxwell clip. I could imagine that it would be more adaptable to like a house song, like at 120 BPM, but you went straight to like slow jam. I was like, whoa, this is next level right here.
So yeah, so that song is probably like what's that? It's probably like 75 BPM, 70, 80 BPM. And what DJs do with stuff like that, or producers, they just, if they want to blend that with a 160, it's perfect blend, because 80 plus 80 is, you know, 80 times 2. So yeah, that's how I heard it.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah. Take you and make you off. Nice. I'm saying nice. That's so funny. Yeah, I was just in Seattle and I did a demonstration for the class, and I just wanted to show them that you can dance to other types of music while doing Chicago Footwork. Yeah, so just hitting some of the snares and the vocals. Yeah, had my Prove It shirt on too, so really wanted to show that you can do it. I think that's a Chicago-owned brand too by, no, you know what? It might be. Tony Baker, who's from Chicago. My wife went to his comedy show and got that shirt. Yeah.
So let's talk about the dance and your creative process.
Yeah. Okay.
So, you know, I see a lot of really interesting ideas coming out you from when you're dancing, right? So like, what's your process for that? Is it spontaneous, or is it like you channel certain concepts, you know?
Yeah, it depends. I've had a lot of training.
Because I think for a lot of new dancers, the stages is like emulation, then improvisation, right? And then you get to a point where you actually want to be original, you know?
Yeah.
But a lot of new dancers stay in the emulation stage where like they take what they learn and they are so inspired by somebody or something that they stay in that stage, right?
Yeah.
But you know, I think eventually you want to be your own artist. So what's your process like?
Yeah, well, I would say definitely, you know, as a student first, just learning from my teachers and trying to be my teacher, like trying to be like them, putting myself in their shoes and imagining how they feel dancing is key. It was key to my foundation, because why would I try to be me in something that's not created from me? It didn't start with me. People taught me basic moves that come from other people. So I should want to put myself in those people's shoes, not in my own shoes. I'm a copy right now. I just want to make my teachers proud, okay? During the process of doing that, I can start getting the thumbs up from them that it looks great, that it, you know, and then seeing if it feels good on me, and then start to introduce myself to my teacher, which is who I'm trying to be. to the point where I can find out who I am down the line. But if I'm super impatient with that and I'm just trying to shortcut to, I just want to be me. I just want to be me. That's just like saying, I'm not connected to nothing in this world. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do know what you're saying. It's sort of like some people have an apprehension to learning a style because they just want to be their own style. But it's communication, right? Like you got to learn the ABCs in some form. Otherwise, how can you connect or even know that you're communicating an idea?
We all got to learn the ABCs. We all got to learn how to speak a language that was not invented by us. So what are you talking about? You just want to be you. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's okay to have a balance between your identity, and the connection that you share with the rest of everything. You know what I mean? But like, don't try to run away from either one. Don't try to run away from your own identity. Don't try to run away from, your connections that exist. You know what I'm saying? So I've never been that guy. I will humbly, try to represent the person who showed me this move. And I will always hold on to the mannerisms and the way that they showed it to me. But eventually I'm going to find my way, okay, and do it sometimes and then switch back to the way my teacher does it. It all depends on my intention with my creative process. It depends on who I'm talking to and what they might need from me artistically. So should I represent who my teacher is right now? Or should I represent me mixed with my teacher right now? Should I just represent like something that I kind of came up with? Like I try to blend all of that together. Nowadays, I've been dancing my whole life. Nowadays, like I just find inspiration from anything. I was in Brazil right before the pandemic, and I got pushed into this battle. I was in a town called Jundiaí. It's in Sao Paulo. And I got pushed into this battle by two of my crewmates. They were supposed to enter with me. They were like, no, we're not going to enter. We just want to watch you. I was like, well, first of all, we were all going to enter together. And now you guys just want to watch me? Come on, Charles, just do it. So I did it. By the time I made it to the semifinals, it was an all-style battle. By the time I made it to the semifinals, I went too hard in the tiebreaker. And then I got nauseous because all I had was McDonald's fries. Say no to McDonald's fries. I'm sorry. Not sorry. If you're going to do a dance battle, no McDonald's fries.
You ever notice how like you can leave the McDonald's fries out and they'll never go stale? Or like
and that's what happened to my body. That's what happened to my body. Plastic was in there while I was dancing. So
I've never seen mold grow on McDonald's fries. I don't know how they do it.
I've never seen mold grow on a burger, a McDonald's burger. It's just a Big Mac is a Big Mac. 30 years later, it's still a Big Mac right there on the sidewalk. Yeah, no, but so I made it to the finals, but I was on the toilet like nauseous because of what I ate. And when I got to the finals, I was like, what? I think I was like 34 years old. And I had to battle this 21-year-old crumper from Brazil in the finals. He's just like born with energy, just a big ball of fire. I didn't know how I was going to get through it. I could barely stand because I was a little nauseous, seeing double. All I remember was that I saw double of the audience. They were in slow motion to me. And they were just screaming at me like, come on, let's go, in Portuguese. I wish I could say that in Portuguese right now. But they gave me motivation. They pumped me up. I felt connected. I needed a little bit more spark though. So when the music cut on, which I think it was actually the Music Makes You Lose Control song, which is so funny. I turn around and I look at the DJ and I'm like, okay, I'm going to connect with you right now. I'm going to connect with you. That's going to distract me from how I feel in my stomach with these plastic fries that don't mold. And so then I went out there, did what I could. And like 2 votes was a tie. And the last vote was me. And I was super shocked. Like I couldn't believe I won, man. But yeah, the people helped me through that, because we're connected and they were sharing that. So I don't know, man, like I'm constantly building my crew Creation Global because I want to build those connections. I want to build those bridges to connections. I want to build more connections in my city, and I want the world to see those connections. And like, I want us to just build something that's brand new that will survive all these up and coming generations to come, where there's going to be way more robots and all these other things and computers that are going to try to duplicate our dances and all this other stuff. Like, I want us to be, you know, constantly influential and innovative and just like preservative of our roots.
So the magnitude and longevity of Creation Global, has that always been this case, or has it evolved over the years to what it is now?
Well, no, it started with like,
because you said you started the crew in 2001, right? So
Yeah.
what was 2001 Charles thinking when you started this crew versus what you do what it is now?
2001 Charles was like just having a good time. Like, yo, let's start something, you know? I couldn't get in another dance group at the time, I don't think I was in another dance group. I think I got into other dance groups like right after I made Creation. Yeah, I think it was right after I made Creation. It was because I was moving from town to town. Terror Squad was one of the first groups that I was a part of for like 3 weeks because of Tristan, that guy that did the talent show and he did the Matrix move. He called me and was like, yeah, we're going to try you out for our crew. And so I did the tryout and I was with them. And then I was also a part of Triple Phase and Uptown and Final Chapter when I was young because my mom kept moving me from town to town. But Creation was my pride and joy because I was under all these other groups and I was the youngest. But in Creation, it was just me and my friends that we were the same age. So I feel like I could relate to them more, you know? And I'm glad I stuck with it, even though we had a lot of like trash talking and like backlash, you know, like the whole reason the group name is called Creation is because some dancers came out with a diss record. They had a producer make a diss record. Yeah, they had a producer make a diss record that I don't know if I can say any profanity on here, so I'll just say
you can say it.
Okay, well, pretty much it was just like F Creation, F Creation, F Creation. And you know, the
like
group,
specific targeting you guys?
Yeah, well, we didn't know at first because I didn't mention, but the group was called Creative at first. And so that's what we called ourselves. And this was our symbol. It was so funny. And Terror Squad played that track at a practice and everybody was laughing at us. And I'm like, why are they laughing? This track is dope. Who's Creation? They were like, that's you. We're like, no, it's not. We're called Creative. And honestly, I saw an opportunity. I saw a window. I was like, we've never had this attention before. Mm-hmm. Let's change our name to Creation. So we changed our name to Creation because of a diss record. And here we are to this day. Creation Global, you know.
Yeah, so when did the magnitude and the legacy vision start coming in? Because now it's no longer about you and your friends. It's about this whole global community, right?
Oh, yeah. The global vision happened. It started happening in 2000, I want to say 12, 13. Because in 2011, a few of my crewmates moved to Los Angeles with me. But then right after that, the next year, they moved back to Chicago and I stayed in Los Angeles. And so I didn't have anybody to dance with. So I was by myself. And so I was teaching classes on Hollywood Boulevard. And this guy named Rob C. took my class along with a legendary dancer named Tony Basil, who I did not know at the time was taking my class. But Rob C. took my class accidentally. He was trying to take a crump class and the teacher wasn't there. So he stumbled in my class and we became bros ever since. He was the first white guy to ever do Chicago Footwork in my book. And it was hard, like cultural differences. He's from a small town in Iowa, but we made it work. He helped me move from every house I ever lived in LA. And then I started training him and he started helping me train others. Then we met other people from LA and we started a chapter in Los Angeles. the first ever Chicago Footwork chapter outside of Chicago for Creation. And that really just gave me the idea of like, wow, I can expand some more. But while I was doing that, I was still like figuring out things with Footwork Kings, because I was the artistic director and I moved to Los Angeles and they needed me in Chicago. But we took one trip to New York, me, Pause Eddie, Little Bit, and Lady Soul. And on that trip, we were doing auditions for Broadway. We were doing a bunch of stuff. And we also did a video called How to Do Chicago Footwork. It's on YouTube. It's a really popular video. Lady Soul sat me down and she pretty much said, Charles, I feel like your mind and your heart is not focused on like the whole Footwork Kings thing right now because you moved to Los Angeles. I think you should focus on this whole Creation Global thing. And when she said that, I made it official, Creation Global, So
you got her blessing to kind of change.
I got her blessing, and I still feel like it's a continuous of creation. So when we say Creation Global started in 2001, we're saying that because that's, the birth of creation. Yeah.
Wow. So like what are some goals or long time, I guess lifetime achievements you would hope to achieve with creation?
Well, one goal is I want to establish more regions in the world that have stable setups where they can like organize events that can bring people from Chicago out, and we can do Chicago footwork events on a global scale. Right now, we're really pushing to get more and more attention the right way for the Chicago footwork community. And that's why my crew Creation Global is really pressing really hard to promote it the right way, as well as promote our way too, and support the OGs and other people's ways. So we have a few different projects that we're doing. I'm the creative director of a nonprofit organization called Creative Network, which serves like low-income youth communities where they don't have a lot of street dance and access to it. And we provide them with teachers of different types of street styles, all the way from Harlem, New York, all the way to Chicago, where we have like 15 classes and programs going on. And then Los Angeles, we're starting trials. And in Santa Barbara, we have a bunch of classes there. So we're doing that right now. And then also we have a few teachers on the ground training different people in the Bay, Los Angeles, like Japan. We're really just trying to expand the right way. And yeah, I just really want to see more categories show some love and respect to Chicago footwork. I just got some really good news today, though. One of my crewmates who lives in Israel, I have a bunch of crewmates in Israel, they were signing up for World of Dance. And on the World of Dance sheet form, it has a dance category, and you click on it and it says Chicago footwork on there. So now you can actually press Chicago footwork as a style that you're doing for World of Dance. And I'm like, that's the type of stuff we're working towards,
Well, that's amazing. Yeah. So I'm curious, do you feel like you have a pretty strong connection to the underserved communities and kids that you are helping out? And do they have a strong connection to you, considering that you're pretty much from these neighborhoods, right? And so you're not like an outsider.
Yeah.
But you are from these neighborhoods, but you also kind of like broke through the wall. And in some ways, I would imagine are like a role model in that sense.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I try to be a role model. I'm definitely trying to inspire whoever I come across. I'm always on the road nowadays, like doing master classes and workshops and stuff. But all the students that I've taught in the past are now teachers as well. And they range from 30s, 40s to teens that are like helping young kids, motivate them. So we're bringing everything back full circle. But definitely since I was a teenager, I've been like doing stuff with the kids and training people at park districts and doing performances for free and stuff all throughout Chicago. And a lot of that stuff is still remembered by the communities. I get messages on my comments all the time when I make posts like, I remember when you used to footwork at the skating rinks, man, it really inspired me. Or, you know, at the party, or I saw you at a gas station footworking, or at the Popeye's chicken when I was trying to order my biscuits and all this other stuff. I saw you footworking on the grease, you know. So that always takes me back, and it makes me feel good about some of the steps I took in the past, you know, and I want to bring everything back full circle, and I want to promise everybody, you know, that they're going to see that too, you know, because that's what this nonprofit organization mission is for too, especially in the Chicago region, where we're taking everything back full circle, and we're trying to provide as many teachers of other crews with the opportunity to teach if they've never done that before, if they want to continue. DJs, all the good stuff, man. We got a lot of stuff going on, man. Like, everybody needs to keep an eye on Chicago Footwork. We're trying to make a holiday for Chicago. We're trying to get it like supported by the mayor. We're calling it Footwork Appreciation Month, F.A.M. Fam.
I like that.
know?
And how did you even go about all that?
Just ideas and just brainstorming with the crew, with
Well, I mean, like, specifically getting the holiday approved. Like how does one even get a holiday submitted?
I know, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of political stuff is involved. You know, just presenting it, you know, and having enough numbers of support behind it, having enough documentation and proof that, like, this is a real thing and it's not just one person trying to come up with an idea. You know, a lot of historical things throughout the years that show, like, coincidentally, all these anniversaries, all these parties, the Bud Billiken Parade, all of this is happening in August, where the dancers are a part of this. And this is our native dance here, and we need your support. So why not support it if this makes everybody happy and it keeps people off the streets and keeps people out of trouble? What would it hurt to call it Footwork Appreciation Month? I mean, there's a Sweetest Day, you know, and most people don't even know about Sweetest Day. Have you heard of Sweetest Day?
No, I don't know. What is that?
Sweetest Day is a holiday only in the Midwest, and it's the reverse of Valentine's Day.
Okay, so it's for people who don't have anybody, or
It's for the men.
Okay.
It's like where women, like, you know, give gifts for the men and stuff like that. I'm like, what? Like, this is only in the Midwest. Like,
Okay.
you know, I go everywhere and they never even heard of it. So I think it's possible. If something like that is possible, Footwork Appreciation Month. It's on the radio stations. The music's on the radio stations. Our producers are traveling the world. They actually have, like, record deals. Our stuff is on Apple Music. Like, their stuff is on Apple Music, Spotify, SoundCloud, everything. People around the world are trying to learn our styles. We bring an international crowd every year to Chicago from Slovakia, Romania, Peru, Greece, India, you know, Israel, you know, all over the place. We're bringing all this attention now, you know. So we're going to make more and more things official. I promise.
Yeah. So speaking of official, with such a growing demand and also a growing crew, right, the Creation Global, how do you maintain legitimacy? And also, like, do you have a curriculum that's constantly evolving that, you know, to make sure certain teachers to cover or certain bases?
That's a great question. Yes. Throughout the years, I've been constantly trying to upgrade my formula on how to teach to better help students that might come to me and say, oh, I have 2 left feet. You can't teach me, you know, I'm unteachable. Yeah, I hate that. I'm the guy that'll prove to you that I can get you to learn this, you know. I care about people that much, and I just love to see growth. So I'm always about planting those seeds, and each seed that one seed doesn't work for each individual. So having all these different strategies are really important. So I tend to have my students and my crewmates come assist me in class and see how I do things, and see how they can do things in that environment, because there's different environments. We're talking dance camps, we're talking master classes, we're talking university lectures, elementary school classes, you know, we're talking classes on the street, we're talking classes in a party. Those are all different types of formats. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm constantly evolving my formulas. And yes, I recently did my first curriculum, actually. It's like a 12-week curriculum. and it's through Creative Network, my nonprofit organization with Kelly Foreman, who's the executive director. She's also a member of my crew and my present day protege. That's who I did the Red Hot Chili Peppers video with, her in a little bit. But yeah, so I did a curriculum to break down Chicago Footwork as like a 12-week lesson plan for people of different age groups to learn it and spread it out so that like they can have time to digest it, enjoy it, and be creative with it, understand it from different angles. And I'm really proud of that, man. But I got to give a lot of props to my online classes that I've been doing since the pandemic, because those students in my groundwork class and my light work class are the ones who help me dissect, go back in, break everything apart, come back out, put it back together, and ask questions about some of the things I've learned instead of just being content because I'm King Charles. No, that's not the case. Like, I have a lot to learn. So I'm going to take old methods, new methods, and break everything down again and see if there's something that we're missing or something that we can rediscover together. And that's what we've been doing. You know, I have, oh my God, there's so many formulas, man. You should come to one of my classes.
Yeah, I want to.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, definitely want to. So we'll make that happen.
Word.
And so earlier you mentioned that you're the third generation, right?
Yes.
It's like first, second, third, and right now you're on the fifth or sixth, right?
Fifth or sixth.
Okay, so do you ever talk to the first and second generation, and then do you guys ever like convene on the state of Chicago Footwork and what are their thoughts on as far as like, do they have any input on where it's going? Or
Yeah.
what's their voice like?
Yeah. So recently, Creative Network and an organization called Urban Artistry from DC.
With Juniors, right?
Yes, with Junior's Brickhouse. Yeah, we just collaborated on a project together. And Junior's Brickhouse, he's also a part of our board for Creative Network too. We did a project together where we were documenting the origins of house music and house dance. And one of the first places that we made a stop in was in Chicago to document and interview some of the people of the first generation from the music side to the dance side. And this is going to be put in the Library of Congress. So we had this opportunity, and Junior's put me in charge of the Chicago region because he was going to tour this around the world. Around the U.S. And so we went to some of my OGs and asked them a bunch of questions and asked them how they feel, you know. And honestly, a lot of them were saying that they feel great and they're really happy to be teaching and to be watching the new generation come up and represent this. I think they're just really happy that it's not done. It's not dead. It's not over. You know, it didn't stop with them. And they want to constantly encourage us to keep going. But I know deep down inside, they also want us to stay connected to them. And so that's why we do that. You know, I also have a dance camp called CFology, Chicago Footworkology. It's the study of Chicago footwork. And we started this during the pandemic. And so we're still doing it, but now we're doing it in person because, you know, you don't need to be locked in your room anymore. And we're like hiring and asking our teachers to teach these classes to all of our international students and local students to learn from the source, you know. Who
are some of the teachers that people should look up?
So you could look up Twan. Yeah, Antoine Humphrey. That's his name. He's a part of House-O-Matic. We've had him teach a bunch of times. He's just great. We've also had J-Rock from the legendary crew Wolfpack. Mm-hmm. He's taught some classes. We're about to reach out to my teacher's teacher. His name is Marlon Chambers. He's the founder of a group called Total Impact. And like the list goes on and on. There's a bunch of people. But yeah, those are a few right there. And then on the DJ side, R.P. Boo, who's been around since the beginning. He just celebrated his 50th year anniversary. His 50th year living. His birthday, yeah. He's incredible. We've had him teach. Yeah, there's just so many.
One thing I noticed from the New York style house dance side is that the dance can look very, very different depending on who you're looking at, even though it falls under the same umbrella.
Yeah.
Does that also happen within Chicago Footwork, or there's like a narrower window of what Chicago Footwork is? You know, for example, if you're looking at, say, Ejoe compared to Conor McGregor or Khalif, they're like they could look totally different, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. It's the same in Chicago Footwork. Like, you could see the different styles between footworkers, but you can also see the relative connection between all of it. Well, it depends on how much dance you've looked at. You know, I wouldn't trust the eyes of someone who's never watched dance before. But yeah, if you've been watching dance in different ways, especially lower body movement with the upper body supporting and all that good stuff. Yeah. By the way, me and Khalif, we did a video on YouTube with Dance Dictionary, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it's Next Style Dictionary, right?
It was produced by Buddha Stretch, and me and Khalif, we were showing the similarities between house dance, New York style, and Chicago footwork. So there's definitely connections there, but different energies, different ways of execution, and as well as like locally in Chicago, each crew has a distinctive style to their signature. They have a distinctive signature, you know? Yeah, it's just like looking at signatures.
Mm-hmm.
How different they look from each other, you know? But yeah, certain styles stick out.
With all the walls that you've broken down and the doors that you've been through, do you ever go back to the footworkers or that were part of the gangs before, and then has their mentality changed as far as like what they think about and how far they dream or think it's possible? You know, like, oh yeah, maybe if Charles did all this stuff, maybe we could do it too.
Yeah. No. There's a lot of people that feel that way. You know, they don't necessarily want to do it the way I do it, but they want to do it like.
But just something in their level, right?
Yes, they wanna make this happen. You know, it's the best thing that they got. For some of them, that's how they feel. You know, some of them have lost family members, and they want to represent those people. So they want to keep going. They want to produce something that lasts a lifetime, just like we do. I think that's awesome. Yeah, and then some of the people that definitely were in gangs and all that stuff, I mean, honestly, they become fathers or mothers and stuff like that, and they're like, yo, I got to make this money. I don't got time to be on the streets and doing crazy stuff anymore. So they focus on that, and they focus on giving back to the community because that's all they have. Like, they don't want to lose that. They don't want to lose the community. So they put that energy back into the community, or they put their kids into those communities where the dance is, you know, and they focus on that, you know. So I've definitely seen people when they get older changing lanes a bit and like putting more energy into what's going to keep this alive. But then you got every generation of young people who are, you know, they just got to wild out. They don't know how to utilize their energy in a positive way. And that's why we got to keep creating more platforms for them.
Yeah. So I've heard or I've seen other dancers have like something to them that makes them more connected, right? So let's talk about connection, you know? Mm-hmm. Does spirituality play any part in your artistry and dance?
Spirituality plays the largest role of my dance and me.
Yeah, so tell me about it if you don't mind.
Yeah. Save the juicy questions for later, huh? Okay. Yeah. Spirituality. So I grew up in a Christian, like Baptist background, you know, belief, practice. Lifestyle, you know, small church in Markham, Illinois, where every time we come in there, everybody knows us. They know the Parks family. They know my family. They know me. They know my dad. I'm Charles IV. So they know my dad. They know my grandfather, you know.
So they were all Charles too?
Yeah. And so, a lot of traditions that we all enjoyed growing up. Me personally, I've always had a spiritual connection, you know, spiritual calling that was always very loud, even when I was working at Popeyes, even before that, you know, which I'm very, very grateful for, because, you know, it's one thing to have your practices. It's another thing to speak alone, but speak spiritually and be heard and be responded to and be shown a path and be shown a way that might not look the same for other people. And believe that that path exists and walk and not fall or not be finished. Like, realize that things are way bigger than you thought they were, you know, and things are way more connected than you thought they were. That's why I stepped towards Chicago Footwork, because I was on the path of doing music and being an artist and doing rap music and singing and stuff like that. Then I got a calling, and, like, you know, my God told me Chicago Footwork. Boom. And I could easily be like, I just made that up in my head, because there's absolutely no lane. There's no career path. There's no nothing for Chicago Footwork. But I knew that it was something real. So, because I also got a download. Of like possibilities in the future. It was almost like, have you seen The Matrix? Mm-hmm. The first one, when Neo, he was on the ship, and Tank was like, all right, so I know they want us to start you with all these like mathematical things and science things, but let's get to the juicy part, you know? So he put a tape in, and Neo downloads, and he's like, I know jujitsu. He's like, hey, I think he likes it, you know? Yeah, like that was me, you know? So I got like this download of ideas and possibilities, and it felt like it was tangible, it felt like it was reachable. And so I went to Reach. I mean, I had nothing else to lose. I dropped out of high school. My mom told me, you know, go for your dreams, and if things don't work out, come back home. And I'm a very extreme person. I think I said that in the beginning. I'm either 0 or 100. So I decided to go 100 because nobody believed that I could make it and have a career of being an artist. Yeah, so my spirituality is what helped me accomplish all of that, because like I followed something that I couldn't see with two eyes. Yeah, it's like I needed a third eye to see that.
Yeah, like, were there any particular moments that you could hear it louder than others? Louder than
Other moments or louder than other people?
Louder than, say for example, if you had a certain job and you were like, yeah, this doesn't do it for my soul, and then you had a different job, and you're like, yeah, I think this is what I need to do, even though you don't see it yet. Like, what were there any of those moments?
Yeah. And my whole life's been like that. Very loud. Very, very loud. And I used to even try to control the signs. That backfired. Yeah. There's no way I can control it. It's not mine. I'm not the owner. You know, it's just a message that's being sent to me, you know. I've seen some miraculous things, man. Miraculous things. I remember this one time. So the reason why they called me King Charles is because I won a competition when I was 15 years old. I don't believe I won that competition fair and square based on skill, but it was a crowd decision. There was high-level dancers in it. I wasn't. I only started footworking a year ago, but the crowd chose me. Now, they chose me potentially because maybe I was a cute little kid or something like that. Maybe that was the case. I battled a girl named Janelle in the finals. I won. Didn't feel like anything changed except for the fact that I won $200. I was like, whoa, I won $200. DJ Thaz started calling me King Charles to create some confrontation so people can start being more hyped up to want to do King of the Circle next year or want to smoke me, whatever. Okay. I won the next King of the Circle a few years later, so I won it twice. That time I won it fair and square. By the way, the second King of the Circle I won was against the guy that did the Matrix move
Full circle right there.
Full circle.
Wow.
Right. Fair and square. And yeah, we battled in the finals. It was great. It was epic. And then the third King of the Circle, I didn't enter, but I went to support one of my crewmates at the time. His name was Ace Boogie. He was battling this guy named AG in the finals. So they battled. I was upset because AG got the win. And not because of AG's abilities. AG was incredible. But I felt like the whole organization of it was against us to win. So I felt cheated, you know. So I was mad. I was upset that we lost, you know. So, and I never said this story in public before. I've always said this to a couple friends. This is the first time. So we were, I stayed at my teacher's house that night. His name is Boo Dilla. Shouts out to Boo. And I couldn't sleep. I'm sitting on the couch and I'm just like super emotional. I'm asking God, I'm like, why did we lose? At that point, we were undefeated in all of our competitions. This was the first time we took a loss, like in an official competition. I was like, why did we lose, God? Like, what did we do to lose? Like, what's going on? So I was going in Budilla's kitchen, and all I kept seeing on the refrigerators and the walls and everything was like little drawings of like his family members. They put like his kids, they had drawings that said like King on it. So it was things that said King all over the place. King, King, King. Now mind you, the event is called King of the Circle. Okay. And my name at the time was King Charles. Some people called me that. You didn't have to. And Budilla's legal name, his last name is King. Now I understand that, but the sign was still sent to me spiritually saying King, King, King. I'm like, why does it keep saying King? So the next day I walked to work. I didn't have a car. Walked to work, got to take the bus. So I took a bike trail. I walked on the bike trail and it was full of clouds. I'm looking up at the sky, still asking God, why did we lose? I'm still not content with this. Asking God on the bike trail. I get to the end of the bike trail. The street sign says Martin Luther King Drive. I see the King in it. Like, interesting. That street sign is not supposed to be there. There's no Martin Luther King Drive over here. Why is it right there? Whatever. So then I make a right and I go 10 blocks to the bus station. And when I'm at the bus station, I see this sticker under the, what do you call that thing where people wait for the bus? Like a little bus stop thing.
Like that.
That covers you if it's raining.
Yeah.
Right, that thing. So there was a sticker in it that said like the blood of Jesus Christ will something, like will save you or something like that. So I looked at that. I was like, that's interesting. Now, when I look back at the clouds of where I walked 10 blocks away, all the clouds were completely full of clouds, except for it looked like where I walked, it looked like an eraser just erased that one line. Blew my mind because it was like, I walked that. That's where I walked. And I took that as a sign, you know, that I'm still on the path, you know. And signs, spiritual signs are supposed to be for you, you know. So me saying this right now, it doesn't have to resonate with anybody else on this planet because it was for me, you know. But like that led me to more things that I needed to see. And everything aligned perfectly. But in the moment, it's going to be uncomfortable, you know.
Yeah. How did you interpret that sign? And was that to just keep going, you're on the right path? And
exactly.
Okay.
Just keep going, you're on the right path. Don't freak out about this, you know. I mean, let it affect you because that effect is going to help you grow, you know. But like, it's not the end. It's not the end. So it's just the beginning. It was magical, man. Like I'm telling you, the whole sky was clouds. And that one part that I walked on that bike trail when I was looking up the whole time cleared. Like, I'm not going to say I cleared it. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying I was in connection.
Yeah, the imagery I'm getting is like the scene from Ten Commandments with Moses.
Wow.
The water, it's like, but within the clouds there though. Yeah.
Right. Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, the reason why I asked about spirituality because I've seen certain dancers that give me this feeling where I'm like, there's something there besides just training, right? I've seen it in Ejoe, Brian Green, Kim Holmes, where when they dance, it's like there's some level of like truth just in motion. Like you can't recreate that.
Yeah. And that's the thing too. I've been doing research in my own Chicago Footwork culture and found out that a guy from the first generation who some say started Chicago Footwork, he was doing a dance, and they took this dance and they called it the Ghost. This is what they thought that he called it. So they would spread in this foundational dance throughout the generations called the Ghost. But then when certain people went back to interview him, they were like, so how did you create this dance called the Ghost? He was like, well, first of all, I was praise dancing. I was praising to my God, and I called it the Holy Ghost. And no one caught that for a while, Some people did. But so there was definitely some spirituality going on for certain dancers in this,
Yeah, who's that guy?
If I'm not mistaken, his name might be Bo.
Okay.
It might be Bo. Yeah.
It sounds like someone that's hard to find. Huh?
Yes, someone that's hard to find. Like people have been having like events lately, really trying to gather up and get the information properly of like who started what and when started where and all that type of stuff. But certain people haven't shown up yet. So, but my friend Prince Jayron found Bo. They had this online like radio show called Behind the Name for Chicago Footwork, where they bring all these OGs on there to interview them and get their stories and stuff. And they've been doing a great job. That was hosted by Prince Jayron and Budilla. So he might have been on there actually answering questions. I got to check. I'm always on the run. So like sometimes I don't have as much time as I would like to check things out. But I definitely got to make my rounds.
Yeah. Well, thanks for telling me about your or one of your signs. Do you have any shout outs you'd like to mention before we wrap things up?
Yeah. Definitely want to give a shout out to my crew that's been down for the longest, from the originals, the ones that are here, the ones that we're representing in spirit. 22 years strong, celebrating our anniversary this summer. I want to give a shout out to the whole city of Chicago. I want to give a shout out to all my people worldwide. Everybody that's been supporting me, my family, of course, my wife, and Creative Network, the nonprofit organization that we just started, is a beautiful thing. And we're like really like looking for more and more people who would like to be connected and build. And there's a lot of great stuff that's coming in the future. I'm doing a whole tour this year, going to Barcelona, India, the UK, Japan, hitting a lot of places, really trying to stay connected with all my folks. I know the pandemic kind of slowed certain people down. It sped us up, so we're multitasking. We got like 4 arms right now. So shouts out to all my people, my soul family out there. We're all doing great things. Valkyria, and yeah, there's more. Even if I don't know what it is yet.
Yeah. And how can people best support you, and how can people best support Chicago and Chicago Footworking?
Best way to support is to like learn more about the source, learn more about where it's from, and try to find a way to get connected to that. And show some love, because more and more people need that. They need those connections, and don't be afraid to try to find a mentor from any crew, from Chicago Footwork, and like voice that you would love to learn the right way, the old school way, because that's still very valuable to this day. Even though we have online stuff, we're trying to stay away from online tutorials. We're trying to be accessible, but still take the step-by-step approach at the same time. So I would say people want to support, get in some of these classes, go to some of these events, go to the battles and stuff, stay safe, most importantly, and connect and help all of us grow. We all going to grow together.
Yeah, and final closing thoughts for our listeners out there. What would you like to close out with?
Creation Global is here to represent the unity of the world. I don't fully support the separation from country to country. People are people, and art is medicinal, and we need more of it, and we need to come together regardless of what, color we are or how we identify ourselves. We need to know that we're all connected. So let's represent that more and more, and that's to all my artists out there.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. Really appreciate you having here and getting to know you more, and definitely welcome you to come back again in the future.
Oh, I appreciate you, man. Appreciate you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Me.